All right, folks, welcome to our Zoom Up. My name is Michael Huggins, and this is our meetup on Zoom. And I am joined today by my co-host, Scooty Rowie, out of Chicago.
Chicago. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? We got an amazing week of stories to share with you, and today is a very special one. People pursuing their dreams, creating the life that they've always wanted, and it's exciting to watch year after year. Now, to catch you guys up, I have been a part of this program and this community for 10 years. I absolutely love it. They can't get rid of me now. When I first joined, though, I had a financial nightmare. I was a mess. I was drowning in student loan debt. I was working 2 full-time jobs, 70 hours a week, and I was eating one meal a day because I was trying to save some money. I lost the place I was living in. I had to move into my girlfriend's mom's basement, and my mom was paying my cell phone bill. I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. So to be introduced to the idea of real estate investing was a big shift for me. But I'm coachable. I let new ideas come in, and I started implementing what I was being taught and what I was seeing around me. And within 9 months, I closed on my first real estate deal. I made $21,000 and quit my job. And now we're doing all kinds of deals: short sales, fix and flips, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, lease options, seller finance notes, and now land development. So I've had quite the transformation. The person who we're going to hear from today, we're going to go in depth with his story. But I do also want you to hear my co-host story real quick. Scott, give people the 15, 30-second version of where you're from.
Yeah, you know what? I was making $212,000 a year on my last job, running 4 states for a company, and they went digital. So they didn't need myself or my wife, where I met in that company, and we lost everything and found ourselves introduced to this group, and things have been much different. So these days, we have not, with a disclaimer, we worked really hard. We have not made less than 6 figures since we started. We've got a nice portfolio full of rentals that we now have, and willable to the kids. So it's been a great turnaround for us.
Right on, man. So it really doesn't matter where you come from. If you are already earning 6 figures and you want to replace that, or you were like me and you're just drowning in debt and want to get a leg up in life, or you've already done 50 or 100 deals, uh, there's so much more behind the scenes. So after today's recording, there's going to be a couple extra videos that you're going to want to see. Request that from the people who got you here. There's a couple info sessions so you can find out who we are, what we do, and how we do so much real estate, and how you can too. So with that being said, I'm really excited about today's guest. He's been a huge support for a lot of new people coming in. He's now on the next journey of his real estate story, and he's made some big changes. He moved across the country and is using the real estate training that he's got to create the life of his dreams. So everybody help me welcome Mr. Stephen Quinn.
Hey, everybody. So I wasn't sure where you guys want me to take off and start, but one of the things that I wanted to preface is kind of where I came from to where we are now, moving across the country and doing these crazy things. But one of the big points for me is my background pre becoming a real estate investor and hanging out with this community was I was a heating and air conditioning repairman. And I think a lot of people, I guess when I looked at my life and everything was going on, I had a decent job. I was paid well for what I was doing, but a couple of things that I was dissatisfied with, which kind of led me to look for other things, was I was tired of working really crazy hours. Like, if you can imagine, so I lived in Arizona and I repaired air conditioners. In the summer, I was never home. If my wife ever wanted to go on a date, I could never promise her that that was possible because I might get called out again to go help a family in need. And, I felt like I was doing a service to the community, which I was, but I just didn't like that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Like, I was always bound to the job. And on top of that, there was a time in my life where I would go to work in the morning early and my kids would still be in bed. And then later I would come home from work and my kids were back in bed. And that went on long enough that when I finally saw my children awake, they had grown bigger or were older than the last time I remembered seeing them. And I told my wife, I said, this is kind of the breaking point. Like, I can't keep just being a bank account for the family and providing income. I need to do something. And so I started looking around, found this community, and oh my goodness, it has just changed the tables. Within 7 months of us being able to join and get going, I was able to walk away from that job and start doing real estate full time. And now we're, about 4 years into it. we're doing all kinds of amazing things. And so it's been an amazing journey. And I know that there's so much more left to come. And like Michael said, they can't get rid of me. I think I'm in that boat now, that I can't see myself anywhere else but a part of this community and helping others achieve similar things.
So tell us about your very first deal and how it got you out of your job.
Yeah, that was actually kind of neat. So I just started telling people on Facebook that I was making this transition to become a real estate investor. And somebody that knew my wife reached out and said, hey, I've got this house. It was actually a single wide manufactured home. They said it was my mother's home and she needs to move out to be cared for in a nursing facility. And we can't afford to take over the home. And so we used a neat strategy called subject to, or we took over the home subject to its existing financing. So I paid the closing costs to have it changed over to my name. I started paying the house payment, which was $250 a month. And I turned around and resold that property. They owed, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. I want to say it was about $40,000 on it. We turned around and sold it without doing any fix up for $60,000 and turned that profit into money in the bank, without really having to come up with any money at all. And that really is what kind of got that journey started. It put that fire in me of, oh my goodness, this is awesome. It worked. And then we've been doing real estate ever since. So generally speaking, my wife and I fix and flip homes together. But we do have, as we've gone on, we've gotten into rentals and other things as well. We're currently buying 6 houses here in North Carolina as a portfolio, which I never thought would be doable, but we're doing that without any of our own money. It's very cool. And we're buying a 12-unit apartment complex that we're going to fix and flip as well. So we're just doing all kinds of neat things that we've been able to learn.
Wow. Okay. So you're about to get 6 single family houses and a 12-unit. And then are you going to hold on to that, or is that something you're going to flip also?
So the 6 rental houses we're going to keep and use those as rental long-term rentals. The 12-unit apartment complex, our initial plan is that we're going to go ahead and keep it, but we have the ability to sell it when we're done for a profit to another investor if it turns out that way. But you know how you always have your contingencies, your different backup plans available to you. But we would love to keep it as a cash flowing property. It would be neat if we can.
Okay, way cool. So I remember seeing a post recently where you said something about you're moving into your dream house, or you're paying off your car or something like that. Tell us about this story.
All right. So I don't know how much time we got. I'll try and shorten it down. My wife and I, as we've done these real estate deals and we've looked at these exciting things, we thought, you know what? It's time for us to do something really for us, to change the environment around what we do with real estate. Because we hear all these neat things. We have turned good profits and we have these cash flowing rental properties. That's all great. But we still lived in the very first home we had ever bought, which wasn't a bad thing. But my wife and I started looking for a big deal, like something that we could do very uniquely. And we came across a home in North Carolina. It was actually 2 homes on one lot, but that lot was 30 acres. So we found this 6,200 square foot farmhouse with another 1,000 square foot house behind it.
Wow.
And the simple story is the house out back looked terrible. The house in the front was in pretty good shape. And nobody was buying this property. So we reached out to the owners and said, hey, I'll buy it from you if you'll seller finance the home to us. We'll give you a good down payment, make sure that we cover any realtor fees and things so that doesn't come out of pocket for them. And long story short is they said yes. So we invested in this property, but because it's so large, it actually had a butler suite on the home that we converted into an Airbnb space. That Airbnb space currently is cash flowing us about $1,800 a month. So that's including certain days that aren't rented out, right? We don't have somebody in there every day of the month. But we're making $1,800 a month. Our house payment is $1,300 a month. So we get to live in this big, beautiful home on 30 acres and have renters in the Airbnb pay for it. But to kind of spin it a little bit further, this is where I said the story can get long, is the house out back we're renovating currently. Once that's been renovated, we can then Airbnb that space. And now essentially all of our bills in life will be paid for simply by living on the property and Airbnb out the extra spaces.
With just 2 properties.
Yeah, so it's 2 properties, one lot.
So two income properties basically kicked you out of the rat race, is what you're telling me.
Essentially, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow. And you
I got
didn't
a question.
have to use a bunch of, you don't have like a 800 credit score and $500,000 down payments?
No. In fact, the down payment, we actually used an investment partner. So we used somebody else's self-directed retirement account to make the down payment. And then that is being paid back to them with interest each month. And that's helping to create this scenario where we got into it essentially for no money out of pocket for us. Everybody else involved is being paid every month, and we're making those payments through the Airbnb or the nightly rental income that's being produced.
Amazing.
I got a question.
Yes.
Okay, so you come from an air conditioning background, heat and air, which is construction stuff, right? You're a handy guy, right?
Mhm.
Do you do any of the work yourself, or do you sub it out?
I tend to sub it out these days. When I first started, I went with that mentality of, oh, I know how to do this. I'll save on cost. I'll do these different things. But what I've learned is in order to really scale up what we do, you have to leverage other people. So we just now send in our contractors, people that we trust, to go in and give us quotes for that work to be done. And then I build the deal around those numbers. And that way I feel pretty confident that we're fairly accurate in what that budget's going to be.
Yeah. Some people think I got to have a construction background to do fix and flips, and this guy's never done a lick of construction. Well, I can't do that. Built decks before. So I want to make sure that folks on the line aren't going, well, Steven's been in mechanicals before, so he knows this stuff, but it's not necessarily true. You don't need
Right.
to.
And I tell everybody, it's almost a curse that I have been in those backgrounds, because when somebody comes to me with a number and I like inside, I cringe a little bit sometimes because I'm like, I know how to do it cheaper. But you have to get rid of that mentality, because yeah, I could go do it cheaper, but if it takes me 2 to 3 months longer to finish that deal, how much cheaper was that? Did I get that turnaround in the time that I needed? And the cost of money goes up as time goes by. So, all of those things we do have to prerequisite. But yes, I would say don't be swinging the hammer, and don't be scared if you don't. Just find the people that you can instill into your business, contractors that you trust as an example, to help you be able to get those things done and strengthen up what might be a weakness for you.
So what did your wife think when you first said, hey, sweetheart, we're going to become real estate investors? I'm hanging up my tool belt.
It was kind of a two-edged sword. So she, in the beginning, was like, yeah, you go do your thing, honey, and I'll support you in it, right? But when it was time to say, okay, now this is going to be our only income, there was a lot of, fear, right? We kind of stand on that financial cliff of there's no more paycheck coming. There's no more this or that. We'd seen success, but do we do this? But she has supported me through it all. I love my wife. She's definitely what I call a part of my team, because we coordinate together regularly. In fact, whenever we get a house, I let her go through and tell me what she thinks that house needs from the female perspective. What kind of kitchen does it need? How should that kitchen be laid out? And then I go to work working with the contractors to produce that, but also keeping in mind that we look at, what type of neighborhood are we in? If it's a lower end neighborhood, then of course we're not going to be putting in granite countertops and high end kitchens. We're going to do something that's, appropriate to that area, but we may still give the types of layout that it would want to sell well.
Okay. So there's some hesitation at first, and after a while of you sticking with it, she's now a part of the team, and
Yeah.
you guys are working together.
Yeah, I think the one moment that clarified everything for us, and this could open up a whole nother story, but we had been doing velocity banking, which we think is a wonderful tool for people financially. But as we were rolling through this, it didn't really feel like a lot was happening at first. But I remember going to my wife and saying, we just paid off all our student loans. And I can't remember how long it had been. It had been like a year. But when that moment happened, it kind of became real that this effort that we're putting into things is really starting to create a momentum. And then, of course, fast forward 4 years, and now, lots of other debts have been paid off, and money's moving in a very different way than it used to for us. And it's lovely.
So how long were you struggling with that student loan before?
Oh, gosh, I had been out of school for years. So let's put it this way. I would say probably 10 years that student loan had been following me around. And then after Velocity Banking, it was gone in probably, well, within a year of starting
Nice.
that process.
Way
So,
cool.
Go.
Yeah.
Done. One last question. How's for me? How's COVID treated your business? You had a whole year, 2020. What's going on?
It honestly, we're doing really well. So a lot of people have come to me and said, I shouldn't do anything. This isn't working. But I looked at it and I'm like, our properties, we generally fix and flip. So we've got empty spaces. We just coordinate the contractors to go in there separate from each other, right? So there's that element. Most of the items that we purchase are shipped and delivered to the job site, so people aren't running through stores. But long story short is I'm selling. Next week we're closing on a home that was fix and flipped. Next month we have another one. We're still buying these 6 houses that are grouped together. We have not really seen a slowdown to our business, and in fact, I'm selling houses for more than we had previous, because there's been such an urgency in the market with the low mortgage rates available.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
That's beautiful to hear, man.
Yeah.
So keep your head out of the sand is what we're trying to tell people, because there's opportunity everywhere.
I was going to say, I just think we need to stop being fearful of what could be and just look at what is and work with it.
Nice.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, for the folks that are listening to this thing, whether you're listening to a recording or listening live and you're just getting introduced to this community, you definitely want to get back in touch with the person who invited you here. We've got a lot more of these recordings that we've done. We've got over 40 now, right, Michael?
That's right, man. And they're still coming.
And they're still coming. It's still coming. We're not stopping it because we've got so much success to show off. But definitely get back in touch with the person who invited you. You want to talk about what's next, Michael?
Yeah. So folks, we have a couple house tours this week that you're going to want to participate in. And then this Saturday, we have a huge workshop. Now, this is by invitation only. It's not open to the public. If you are invited by a community member, then the fee for you is waived. Okay. This is not a free event, but for the fee for you will be waived for you to attend. So you can start to see the caliber of who we are, what we do, how this education, this platform is really creating success for people. What we're going to be focusing on this weekend is what's called creative acquisitions. Stephen is a perfect example of that. His first deal and his most recent deal are also creative acquisitions. So how does it work? You don't need perfect credit. You don't need giant down payments, but you do need some information, and you do need to follow a plan and a purpose. And the gentleman who's going to be teaching has been doing it for over 30 years. He's got hundreds of properties himself. So you're definitely going to want to hear how he does it, how he lays it out. And it's going to be awesome.
He technically, the guy that's going to be speaking, he technically owns 3% of the whole city. So
he owns 3% of the whole city he's in, and very honest, ethical, driven man. And he's great at teaching. So you guys are going to have a ton of fun while you're going through it.
Former school teacher. So there you go.
Right. He just didn't settle for less. And now he gives back to our community. So if you're a guest here today and you want to attend that, at no charge, you do need to be on that guest registration so that we can get you the private Zoom link. And we'll be working behind the scenes to make sure all those links go out on time. So please register on time, make our lives easier, and yours as well. Stephen, congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time to share your story with the folks. And we're excited to keep watching your journey, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
All right, everyone. Get back with the person who invited you here. Take the next step. Have a wonderful day.